right, Math 12A. So a few people asked for me to go over some questions from the homework last week. So I want to start by going over that. We'll see how long that takes and I'll decide whether or not I'm going to go further or not at that point. I have done some lesson planning. Hold on. I have done some lesson planning. And if all goes according to plan, which in my world it very rarely does, but if it all goes according to plan, next Monday, not today, but a week from today, we would do a test on sections 8.1 to 8.4. If you have a bunch of other tests, if you have a lot of other things upcoming on that day, please let me know and we can adjust. But at this point, I'm saying Monday, May the 4th for sections 8.1 to 8.4. All right. So based on some notes that people gave me, thank you very much for that. That's really helpful. Page 475, I was asked to go over 15, 27, 33, 35, and 37. So it's a significant amount of them. So we'll see how quickly I can get through them. If this video is like 45 minutes long, then we won't do anything more than that today. Number 15 says, find the exact value of the shortest distance from the origin. Whenever they use the word origin, they mean 0 and 0. To the line y is equal to x minus 4. Now, they say express radical answer in simplest radical form. So in other words, if you end up with like root 8, don't give that as a decimal, simplify that down to 2 root 2. So again, let's think about what this is talking about. Y is equal to x minus 4, the y-intercept would be at negative 4, the slope would be 1, so up 1 over 1, okay? And they're saying if you have a point of 0 and 0, what is the shortest distance to this line? Now we know the shortest distance is always perpendicular. So we know that this point is 0 and 0. What we need to figure out is where is that end point? That end point is shared between this line and this line. It would be on this line. It would also be on this line. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find an equation that represents this line from the 0 and 0 point to here. To figure out an equation of a line, it's y minus y1 is equal to slope times x minus x1. The x1 and the y1 are going to be the point that you know, which is 0 and 0. So it's going to be y minus 0 is equal to whatever the slope is times x minus 0. Now what is the slope? The slope is perpendicular to this slope. This slope is 1. So perpendicular slopes are negative reciprocals. So if this is 1 over 1, if I flip it over, it's still 1 over 1, but it also has to be the opposite sign. So that's going to be negative 1. So if I simplify this, I should have y minus 0, sorry. Y minus 0 is equal to negative x plus 0. So really, y is equal to negative x. Now, if y is equal to negative x, but y is also equal to x minus 4, like it said over there, then really negative x has to be equal to x minus 4. It's really just substitution. If y is negative x, I substituted that into here. So I have negative x is equal to x minus 4. If I solve that, if I move this over, I have negative x minus x, which is negative 2x, is negative 4. divide both sides by -2, and I get that x is 2. Now I need a y value. No problem. Just take that and put it back either into here or into here. It won't matter. You'll get the same answer. 2 take away 4 would be -2. Or if I put a 2 in here and there's a negative, it would be -2. Either way, the y is -2. So now I know where this line starts. I know where this line ends. I can do the length of a line formula, which is x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, and then take the square root of it. So if this is my x1 and my y1, and this is my x2 and my y2, x2 minus x1 would be 2 take away 0 squared plus -2 take away 0 squared, and then I'll take the square root of it. So 2 take away 0 is 2, squared is 4. -2 take away 0 is -2, but squared is +4. So I have the square root of 4 plus 4. So I have the square root of 8, which is ironic since that was my example earlier. So remember that 8 breaks down to 4 times 2. 4 has a perfect square root of 2. 2 does not have a perfect square root. So we just simplify that down to 2 root 2. All right, that's 15. (27) 27 says find the shortest distance again from the origin, so 0 and 0, to 6x plus 8y minus 5 equals 0. So the first thing I would do is I would rearrange that equation to be in y is equal to mx plus b form. So 8y would equal -6x plus 5. I just moved the two pieces over. I'd put this over 8, I'd put this over 8, and I'd put this over 8. So I would have y, -6 over 8 reduces to -3 over 4x plus 5 over 8. So just to give me a visual, my point is 0 and 0. My line, the y-intercept is 5 over 8, so like a little more than half a square up. That's my y-intercept. And down 3, so 1, 2, 3, and over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's my line. So here's the thing, when I draw this, what that tells me is the line, the length between the point and this line is really, really short. So when I come up with the length of a line, if I get an answer of like 27, that's probably not right. It's going to be a very small answer based on my drawing, assuming I've done my drawing right. I think I have. So again, I'm going to come up with an equation for this short little line. Y minus y1 is equal to slope times x minus x1. This being my x1 and my y1. So y minus 0 and x minus 0, but what I need is a slope. The slope is the negative reciprocal of this one. So if this is -3 over 4, I'm going to flip it over to be 4 over 3 and change the sign to be positive. So 4 over 3. So really what I end up with is y is equal to 4 over 3x. Now y is also equal to -3 over 4x plus 5 over 8. So that means 4 over 3x is equal to -3 over 4x plus 5 over 8. So if I move this over here, I have 4 over 3 plus 3 over 4, which is why I have Harriet out. So 4 over 3 plus 3 over 4 gives me something awful. Gives me 25 over 12x is equal to 5 over 8. I'm going to divide this side by 25 over 12, which means I'm going to divide 5 over 8 by 25 over 12. So I'm going to do 5 over 8 divided by 25 over 12. Thank goodness for calculators that do fractions. And that is 3 over 10. So the x value is 3 over 10. The y value, well, either put it back into here or back into here. This one looks easier to me. 4 over 3 times 3 over 10. 4 over 3 times 3 over 10 gives me 2 over 5. So my x is 3 over 10. My y is 2 over 5. The other end is 0 and 0. So again, my length formula now, because I want to find the length of that line. So length is x2 minus x1. So let's say 3 over 10 minus 0 squared plus 2 over 5 minus 0 squared. So 3 over 10 squared is 9 over 100 plus 2 over 5 squared, which is 4 over 25. We're going to take the square root. So 9 over 100 plus 4 over 25 gives me 1 over 4. So I have the square root of 1 over 4. Now that actually works out nicely because this would be the same as saying the square root of 1 over the square root of 4. It's the same thing. So the square root of 1 is 1, the square root of 4 is 2. So it's a half a unit long. Again, that makes sense. I said it was going to be small, it was going to be little. A half, a square is little, so that makes sense. 33. I'm just going to leave, no, I'm not. 33. I have a notion all we'll be doing as examples today, but that's okay. 33, this time instead of it being the point being at the origin, this time my first point, my x1 and my y1 are actually away from the origin. They're at 3 and 1. And the equation is x plus y is equal to negative 2. So I would rearrange that to be y is negative x minus 2. So for those of you, again, who like a visual, I do. So even if I'm not doing this like to explain it to someone, if I'm doing the question, I still draw the picture. So it's not like, oh, I'm stupid if I have to draw the graph. I don't know. Maybe I am. I don't know. I always draw the picture. It just gives me some more information to work off of. Like in the last one, by drawing it, I knew that my answer should be little. It just gives me some information. So my point is 3 and 1. 1, 2, 3, and 1. And my equation has a y-intercept of negative 2. And the slope is negative 1. So down 1 and across 1. So there's my line. So again, it's going to be this way. So I need an equation. Y minus y1, and my y1 is 1, is equal to slope. Again, here, my slope is negative 1 over 1. So the reciprocal would still be 1 over 1, and I need it to be positive. So my slope is 1 times x minus x1, so minus 3. So I have y minus 1 is equal to x minus 3. So if I move this over here, I have y is equal to negative 3 plus 1 would be x minus 2. So this one's actually positive x minus 2. This one is negative x minus 2. So y is equal to this, but y is also equal to this. So that means that x minus 2 is equal to negative x minus 2. So if I move this over here, I have x plus x, which is 2x. If I move this over here, I have negative 2 plus 2, which is actually 0. And so x is equal to 0. So obviously when I drew my line, that's not really perpendicular, but that's probably because, you know, I can't draw, plus I'm drawing a graph without graph paper, right? So it actually should look more like that. So my x is 0. this was my x1 and my y1. So this is my x2. Now I need to know what my y2 would be, so I can take that, I can put it into here, I can put it into here, it doesn't matter, because 0 take away 2 is still negative 2. So 0 and negative 2 are my x2 and y2. So again, length formula is the square root of x2 minus x1. So 0 minus 3 squared, and y2 minus y1, negative 2 minus 1 squared. So 0 take away 3 is negative 3, squared is 9. Negative 2 take away 1 is negative 3, squared is also 9. So I have the square root of 18. How did they want this answer? They said round it to the nearest tenth. So I don't have to simplify this, I just have to put it in my calculator. Square root of 18 is 4.2. And again, that looks like a reasonable answer based on my picture. 35. This time the point is 3 and negative 1. So again, that's an x1 and a y1. So when I go to figure out my line, I already know I'm going to do y minus negative 1. Because it's y minus negative 1, that's really plus. I don't know what my slope is yet, but it's going to be x minus 3. Okay. And I'm doing 35. So it's 2x minus y plus 3 is equal to 0. Now for me, because I'm lazy, I would probably just move the minus y over here so that I have 2x plus 3 is equal to y. It's just one step. It's just moving one thing. It doesn't matter if the y is on this side and the other stuff's on this side. As long as your y is isolated and positive, it doesn't matter which side. So again, for visual's sake, 3, 1, 2, 3, and negative 1. That's my point. My slope, my y-intercept is 3, 1, 2, 3. My slope is 2 over 1, so up 2 over 1. So there's my line. So again, I'm looking at, I don't know, something like that, right? So this is my 3 and negative 1, which I'm calling my x1 and my y1. So I need a slope. Up here I've already put in my x1 and my y1, or sorry, my y1 and my x1. And I need a slope. Here my slope is 2 over 1. So flip that over, it's 1/2. Change the sign. It's negative 1/2. So I have y plus 1 is negative 1/2 x plus 3 over 2. So y is equal to negative 1/2 x, and 3 over 2, take away 1. We'll think 3 over 2 is 1.5. Take away 1 would be 1/2, so plus 1/2. If you like decimals better and you want to work in decimals, that's okay too. So if y is this and y is this, then that means negative 1/2 x plus 1/2 is equal to 2x plus 3. So I'll move this over here and subtract it, which is going to give me negative 2.5, which is negative 5 over 2x. Again, if you like decimals better, then make it negative 2.5. I'm going to move this over here, so it would be 3 take away 1/2, which would be 2.5, which again would be 5 over 2. So if I do 5 over 2 divided by negative 5 over 2, it should be negative 1. But I'm going to double check just to be sure. I don't know why. Maybe just because it's nighttime and I'm tired. I don't know. But I'm right. My x is negative 1. Either put that back into here or here. Since that one has fractions in it, I'd pick this one. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And negative 2 plus 3 would be positive 1. And that kind of makes sense where my drawing is. Negative 1 and 1. So here is my x2 and my y2. So now my length formula. Hopefully you're seeing the pattern at this point because it's the same steps every time. So x2 minus x1, negative 1 minus 3 squared plus y2 minus y1. So 1 minus negative 1 squared. So negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4, squared is 16. 1 plus 1 is 2, squared is 4. So this is really the square root of 20. And they said the nearest tenth. So it should be 4.5. Yep, it is 4.5. All right. Last one, 37. So 37 is still in that same grouping of questions. The point they give us is 0 and negative 1. So that's my x1 and my y1. And 5x plus 2y plus 3 equals 0. So 2y would equal negative 5x minus 3. So y would be negative 5 over 2x minus 3 over 2. So my point is 0 and negative 1. So that's my x1 and my y1. And my equation is negative 1.5. So it's like here. And then down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 2, 1, 2. So it's like here. So a perpendicular line is going to be like here. Really, really little, really, really short, right? Really short. So again, step 1, find the equation for that itty bitty short little line by doing y minus y1 is slope times x minus x1. So my y1 is negative 1. So y minus negative 1 is really y plus 1. And x minus 0. My slope is the negative reciprocal of this. So instead of negative, it's positive. And instead of 5 over 2, flip it over to be 2 over 5. So y plus 1 equals 2 over 5x, because the other one is 0. So I'm going to move this over here. So y is 2 over 5x minus 1. So I will take this equation and make it equal to this one. That's my second step. So 2 over 5x minus 1 equals negative 5 over 2x minus 3 over 2. So I'm going to move this over here. So I have 2 over 5 plus 5 over 2, which gives me 29 over 10. Again, if you want to work in decimals, go ahead, but if it doesn't work out nicely, then you would have to be rounding off, and that's not good. So if it works out to be, you know, like 6.3978421, and it never ends, don't use that. So I'm going to bring my 1 over here and add it. So this is really negative 1.5 plus 1. That is negative 1/2. So I'm going to divide this side by 29 over 10, because right now I'm multiplying it with the x. So I'm going to divide this side by 29 over 10. So negative 1 over 2 divided by 29 over 10 gives me a terrible number, negative 5 over 29, which is terrible. So my x2 is negative 5 over 29, icky. And in terms of what is my y, I can either put it into here or into here. I'd probably do this one, it's got less fractions. So 2 over 5 times negative 5 over 29 minus 1 gives me, again, something terrible, negative 31 over 29. So that's terrible. But that's why we have calculators, because you don't have to do this in your head. All right, so last step is to do the length formula, which is y2 or x2, so it doesn't matter which one you do first, but x2, negative 5 over 29, minus x1, so minus 0 squared, plus y2, negative 31 over 29, minus negative 1, so really plus 1, squared. So 5 over 29 squared, 5 over 29 squared is 25 over 841. Yay! Plus negative 31 over 29 plus 1, and then squared is 4 over 841. We'll look at that. They have common denominators, so that's really handy. Plus 25 over 841. So this is really the square root of 1 over 29. It said round to the nearest tenth, thankfully. So square root my answer. I get 0.2 when I round it off to the nearest tenth. And again, I knew the answer was very, very small based on my drawing. I'm not going to do anything else today. What I really want you doing is going over this video. If you struggled with this, I really want you going over this video. Maybe go back, and if you struggle with 37, maybe do 36 or 38. Like do one just above or just below it. Just to make sure that you do understand it. Okay, so if you got the homework and you had no problem, then you're free and clear. If you struggled with something, then take the initiative to go and try one around it. Like I said, if you had trouble with 33, maybe do 32 or 34. I'm not saying both, I'm just saying one. Just to see and make sure that you do know what you're doing with it. All right? So that's it for today. Should be a fairly easy Monday. See you tomorrow.